Welcome to Nasdaq TradeTalks, where we meet with the top thought leaders and strategists in emerging technologies, digital assets, the regulatory landscape, and capital markets. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, and joining me on the desk at the Nasdaq market site, we have Honeycutt, CEO of Honeycutt Insurance and managing partner of Integrity Marketing Group. We also have Garyn Angel back with us, U.S. Senate AI policy advisor and CEO of PharmEd. We're here to discuss insurance policy, AI, and risk, and how innovation is redefining financial protection across industries. It is great to have the both of you with us. Welcome back to Trade Talks, Garyn. Welcome to Trade Talks, Trey, and thank you for your service, of course.
Thank you.
Let's talk about insurance as a scalable growth channel. You don't typically think of insurance and growth in the same, sentences sometimes.
Yeah, I was raised in a small town in Mississippi, and I was told that the two people that people hate the most are attorneys and insurance people. And so it was never my dream to get into insurance at all. But what I've realized over the last several years is there was a point where the average insurance agent was just really aging out of the marketplace. They were getting older and they weren't being replaced. And now we're seeing this fresh, young group of entrepreneurial-minded people that are joining the insurance industry as agents. And that's what's making it scalable, along with the technology and things that we're going to talk about today.
Yes, so Garyn, how can agriculture teach insurance about risk and resilience?
So agriculture is risk and resilience. Every season gives us all kinds of challenges. And if you think about insurance, currently what's happening is the actuarial tables are static. And we need to move from static actuarial tables into real-time AI, data-driven decision-making. And that's really the biggest lesson that I think that the insurance companies can learn from agriculture is how to adapt. Each season's different, and the changes are real, and you're seeing it across healthcare, you're seeing it across business lines, commercial insurance. You can take it. Financial modeling is always the same. It's a widget. So once you understand the baseline, you can take a lot of the lesson plans from agriculture and simply apply them to the insurance models.
Trey, you bring up a good point about workforce development and making sure that you have the right skill set and the platforms in place for the next gen of insurance. You could even say, advisors and wealth management as well kind of fits in that bucket. So what about workforce development and thinking of it as a revenue strategy?
Well, what's really fascinating to me is there's a lot of talk about AI, replacing people. And I don't believe that's really the future at all. I think what it is it's a value add to allow agents and people in the industry to be more service oriented. It's in order to spend more time with people, not less time with people. It's those data-driven decisions that are allowing you to get rid of the monotony and spend more time servicing clients, making sure that they're in the best position possible, and those types of things. So I think that's really the main thing I want to talk about when I talk about data-driven, the ability to bring new people on, because what we're really looking for in the insurance industry is people that are service-minded. People that get into it for the wrong reasons don't tend to do well. But when somebody has that service mindset that they're there to help people and make their life better through the products that we provide, they tend to do really well.
And through that technology, making their downtime more efficient,
yes.
You're able to spend more time with clients and think about more personalized solutions, I would imagine.
Yeah, on the things that really matter.
Yeah. Well, Garyn, when we think about talent shortage as well, AI can be employed for a quick pivot to make sure that we're either reskilling or upskilling appropriately.
Yeah, the talent gaps continued to spread. And a lot of that is because there's been a lack of technology in the rural districts. And what we have right now is an opportunity to bring that talent and bring the training, bring the workforce development, these technologies out to the smallest places. And really in these rural cities, they're data-rich environments. And so getting just people in those smaller communities that a lot of times feel underserved or underprivileged to realize that they are actually sitting on the data that the urban communities can learn from and thrive.
It's interesting, you had mentioned that it's not a static environment when you're thinking about the climate and reimagining crop insurance. Even here in the Northeast, we used to have spring in May and June. Now we have all, hurricanes almost every May with all the wind and the rain and so forth. And June has felt like August. So the climate is certainly changing, and you have to adapt to it. And I would imagine that crop insurance needs to adopt with evolving needs as well.
Yeah, crop insurance it's going to be completely rewritten for many reasons over the next few years. One, as vertical farming and controlled environment agriculture enter the landscape, the need for crop insurance and the types of crop insurance that you need drastically pivot. But also, we're investing so much in precision agriculture that you can get ahead of some of these challenges in the future. And also, when you think about the technology of fungus and the ways that we combat some of the things that wipe out our crops, it's a totally different landscape. And when you add that AI component into it, where we're able to identify that bloom before it's happening, we're going to be a lot more preventative in the future. I think the price of insurance will go down drastically over the next few years.
I mean, you can even apply that train of thought to traditional health insurance as well, right? Nipping the bud, pardon the pun here, in the beginning will certainly help to prevent disease, whether you're talking about agriculture or with people, which will make it more affordable. In the end, I think part of making this accessible is distribution as well, and being able to get to the end user.
Yeah, no doubt. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And as far as the distribution model goes, being able to make those split-second decisions on underwriting and things like that, and allowing clients to get covered right away, assessing the risk pool more fluently than we were able to before, certainly it's going to bring the price down over time, no doubt. And the other thing it's going to do is allow for higher retention with the customers, because as people are coming into the business and joining the sales force on the sales side, with that service mindset, being able to service those customers quickly and allowing them to really understand and take the time to understand what it is that we're actually trying to do, it's a win-win for everybody.
I think precision agriculture becomes precision wellness and precision healthcare. So when you start growing food that's more nutrient dense and closer to the city center, the people enjoying the food wind up with a much healthier meal. And that preventative maintenance that we're talking about really starts with precision agriculture. When we put better ingredients on the plate, we're going to wind up with much healthier society. And you're seeing it right now as we rewrite. We were talking about this earlier offset, but you're seeing it where we're making healthier food. The processed foods that are being consumed are becoming healthier. The drinks, the foods are having all of the dyes removed. And the link between disease state and the influx of all of these artificial components in our food supply is undeniable.
Yeah, well, I think that's a perfect segue into getting into the public-private partnership conversation here, because Trey, operating in multiple jurisdictions, whether it's state-by-state licensing, you have outdated frameworks and so forth, policy and regulation really need to be modernized in order to execute on a lot of these strategies.
On the technology side, you would be shocked at how far behind a lot of these huge U.S. life insurers actually are. Even the simplest things, but we've seen that come such a long way now. The regulations are getting much easier. It's getting much easier across state lines to be able to communicate. Just getting products approved by insurance commissioners in different states has become such a better process in just the last handful of years. And with the AI, with technology, there's really no guesswork. We're pretty confident as to what's going to happen long term based on prior data that we can now look at and assess much better than we ever could before.
Yeah, and you're working with government to advise them on AI strategy and initiatives. So it sounds as if the industry is working to advocate to help advance these strategies, whether you're looking at risk management, insurance, or any other number of industries. Do you think that's being helpful and progress is being made there?
I think this administration is laser focused on good changes for the long term of our society. And yes, we've partnered with the White House on an AI initiative to really change the classroom and bring tomorrow's classroom into today. Our government has had so much bureaucracy and lobbying that getting things done was nearly impossible. And when you look at what the Trump administration has done in a very short amount of time, they're rewriting the playbook and they're allowing things to proceed. It's running a lot more like a business. Fail fast, figure it out, pivot if it's wrong, but take the chance and see if this is innovation, see if there's opportunity here. When you look at, I know we've had a couple discussions about crypto, and you look at how they've embraced crypto, it's amazing to see. And when you combine blockchain with AI, now you're really starting to get to a spot where you can rely on that data because you can go back and see the truth.
Yeah, well, you can also make it more accountable and transparent. And I think that's part of the issue that we've seen, regardless of which administration, hopefully that's being worked through now. We don't know where the money is going and how it's being leveraged. And I think blockchain will help provide some of that. I also think it's important to recognize, Trey, that value-driven sales, and whether you're thinking about privacy first or cybersecurity first, that is actually competitive advantage when you incorporate that as having a clear mission and purpose as well.
Yeah, more so than ever before. Putting people first goes a long way in today's society, and people run toward that. Authenticity is something that's hugely lacking in our society in a lot of ways. And even when you start talking about regulations, I mean, it's certainly possible to way over-regulate too many things. The answer is not always to make it way harder by adding it. Business is hard enough.
Yeah.
We don't need more regulations to make it harder. What we need to do is do that fail-first model like you were talking about, Garyn, and learn as we go and not overcomplicate it.
Well, I mean, the whole thing is all these technologies that we're talking about, demand has increased exponentially. So if we want to be leaders in innovation, we're going to, have to compress some of these timelines to get regulatory approval and so forth so that we can get electrical grids updated and running, or think about, other alternatives such as nuclear technologies and so forth. So we have to, the regulatory machine is going to have to hum along and evolve along with the technology itself.
I think you have to move from policy to people. And we get so focused on the policy and not focused on the people and how it inflects. We're at a crossroads and we don't have an option. AI isn't optional. I speak to a lot of teachers and administrators, and they're scared or concerned about AI. This is not optional. This is here. I mean, how often do you guys use a large language model in your like?
Oh, multiple times a day. I was looking up notes as you were speaking just before.
Yeah, so when you look at, I think it's funny because when you go on social media, I can instantly tell what's written by AI and what was, because I've known those people for so long. As this unfolds, you are going to continue to see a spot where society has evolved into speaking like AI because you're using it so frequently. It's like the reason why we have to take English class is because it improves our grammar, it improves our vocabulary. And I think AI is going to improve every segment of this society because we're going to adopt how a computer thinks and get out of our own way.
Well, if you bring civics back into the classroom, you and I have spoken about this before, that will also help to compress the knowledge gap. Speaking of civics and your service, Trey, one thing that I've picked up on is the younger crop of policymakers have military background, whether it's special ops, officer, in the field, expanding their education, once they come back into civilian life. What are you drawing from that background as you think about operational infrastructure and building out these strategies?
Teamwork, being reliant on the people around you, taking personal accountability for what it is that your job is and what you're there to do. And that's why, for me, in our recruiting practices, that's the type of people we're looking to onboard, is people with that service background, people that were in the military. They know how to follow instructions, they know how to think on their own, they know how to collaborate without complaining, they know how to solve problems quickly, and that's a huge thing, and they know how to play team. And as much as, I guess it would be good to learn English from AI, there's going to be a backlash at some point where people are like, this is too much, and what we need is just grassroots relationships. And so there is no other relationship in the world other than my marriage outside of the military where I've had that kind of camaraderie before. And so I try to infuse that into my organization, because the one thing I miss about the military is the camaraderie and the relationships.
Trey, I love working with veterans, and I love working with veterans because the principles that we teach in military, 2 is 1 and 1 is none. And a lot of times in business, we think if we have one solution, we're in a good spot. You know, the force multiplier, the way that actually works in military, and then you apply that to your business mindset. So I think it's paramount that when we work with some groups like the Honor Foundation, where it's former elite members of the military and now they're transitioning into private business roles. They teach me more than I teach them, because they're analogies towards life. Everything's life or death. So your redundancies and the way that you approach problem solving, where I'm a little bit more entrepreneurial and I'm like, let's try it, let's try it, let's try it. They'll slow me down and give me, they'll say, give me another pathway, prove another path. And when you do that, you wind up with a much better business plan.
Which I think is interesting, and we've spoken to Congressman Nunn about this, Iowa's 3rd District, in his military service, and they have, when you think about U.S. leadership and innovation, they go with a privacy, cybersecurity mindset first, where you're not thinking about what's the win, what's the risk, and they're constantly modeling and thinking about that, and looking through the lens of innovation with a national security perspective. And I think that's really what's going to help to get a lot of policy through as well. So I think that's, as you know, knowing how to talk to your audience to get that buy-in, I think is what's important as well.
I think that Congressman Nunn is an absolute gift to this world. And his outlook on strategy and really how he can use his knowledge from war and make the world a better, more peaceful and resilient place. Yeah. He's doing great work in the United States. I absolutely adore him. I think he's a gem and one of the best members of Congress.
And we've had others on the show as well. And what's interesting, and Trey, you can relate to this, is how warfare has evolved in just a short amount of time. From its critical infrastructure and cybersecurity really are at the front lines, or at least joining military folks on the front lines. I mean, that's really where the risk is starting to evolve too.
Mm-hmm. No doubt. Well, the one thing that's always going to be, through the ages is the bravery and the sacrifice for U.S. service members. And that's not something I ever want to take for granted. I don't care if they're flying a drone or, they're taking a hill. Either way, they're the best of the best.
Yeah, so applying that mindset and thinking national security first, I think is really going to be great for advancing these policies. Appreciate both of your insights. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me from MarketSite. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.